Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, I got a post here from Hedera, and this is just going to show you exactly why institutions should want to come to Hedera. This will show you exactly why Hedera is positioned for institutional adoption. So we've got a post here and they say, the hardest question institutions ask when evaluating blockchain isn't speed or cost, it's whether any participant can manipulate transaction ordering. On many public chains, the answer is yes. That's MEV. Hedera's architecture removes the conditions that make it possible. No public mempool, leaderless consensus, and fair timestamps. So I'm going to go through the main things here. There's four in particular that make this so attractive for Hedera when it comes to institutions. And then I'll finish it off as to why you can see the importance of this. So Hedera's architecture built from first principles. Hedera doesn't mitigate MEV. The hashgraph algorithm eliminates the structural conditions that make it possible. Four properties are the reason why. No public mempool. Transactions are submitted to Hedera aren't placed in a visible queue before finalization. There is no pool of pending transactions for validators, bots, or anyone else to monitor. The information asymmetry that enables front running simply doesn't exist here. So yeah, that just means that they can't view a transaction to give it like preferential treatment, basically that kind of thing. Leaderless consensus. Hashgraph reaches consensus through gossip about gossip and virtual voting. All nodes participate simultaneously. No single node proposes a block. No participant controls transaction ordering for a given round. The sequence that emerges is a collective output of consensus process, not a decision any individual makes. So once again, that's just trying to avoid the whole front running thing. So it can't be like a certain individual, again, trying to give like preferential treatment, that kind of thing. Mathematically fair transaction ordering. Each transaction receives a consensus timestamp derived from the median of timestamps submitted by the nodes that first received it. The median of distributed set cannot be shifted by any single participant. No node can move transactions in the queue for profit. This is not a policy commitment, it is a mathematical property of the algorithm. So yeah, the timestamps is something that obviously it can't be manipulated, basically. This is what we mean when we talk about immutable data, right? It can't be amended or anything like that. It can't be manipulated to be changed. Once it's there, that's it. That's factual, that's what it is. Deterministic timestamp logging. Every finalized transaction on Hedera carries a consensus-derived timestamp that is immutable and verifiable. A provable record of when a transaction was received and settled in a sequence that was not subject to manipulation. That is what regulators, counterparties, and audit committees need. Not a representation that manipulation was unlikely, but a record that demonstrates it was architecturally impossible. MEV resistance isn't something Hedera added to address a problem. It's what the architecture produces. The network was built from first principles to achieve consensus on ordered events fairly. And these properties are present in every transaction, not just the ones routed through a protected relay. So yeah, what I was saying about the mathematically fair transaction ordering, obviously it just carried on there with the deterministic timestamp logging. Once it's there, it's immutable, etc. It can't be manipulated. So once again, you know, there's no way you can change this. It's there, it's set in stone. Again, when you're talking from an institutional perspective, it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. So final thing, and then I'll give my last thoughts on this. This is why I want to show you why it's important. So a CTO, CDO, or head of market infrastructure evaluating blockchain for trading or payments needs to answer one question with confidence. Can I take the finalized settlement record to a regulator, a counterparty, or an audit committee and demonstrate that the ordering was not manipulated? On most public blockchains, the honest answer is not by design, only through mitigations that reduce exposure without eliminating the underlying structural problem. And that introduced dependencies on intermediaries whose behavior cannot be verified on chain. On Hedera, the answer is yes. No mempool, leaderless consensus, median-derived timestamps that no participant can shift, and immutable deterministic logging at finality. These are not claims against a white paper, they are the mathematical properties of the consensus algorithm present in every transaction the network processes. Yeah, absolutely. So this is why I'm saying here the importance of it, right? This is the importance, because when you're talking about institutions, they haven't got the appetite for a maybe. They want to know it's secure, because this is the truth. When it comes to these institutions, yeah, if they have things where they're uncertain, even if it is way better technology, they're not going to take the risk, even if they have to stick with the slower old processes, because if they know they're safe, they would rather take that as the safer option. At the end of the day, we're dealing with money here, like big money with these institutions. And you're also looking at things where they could get fined and things like that. They're not going to take those kinds of risks. They're just not. So if they're going to come to these, these blockchains or hashgraph, whatever, they're going to want reassurance. They're going to want to be comfortable that this is going to be okay and it's not something that could be manipulated. That's not something that they want to take a chance on. And so, once again, think about it. If you're a bank and you was to ask this type of question, and as to say, well, yeah, for a lot of public blockchains, yeah, these kind of things can happen. Is there any that can't? Oh, well, Hedera, no, you can't do it on the Hedera hashgraph, no. Sign me up, right? Like, obviously. So, again, this doesn't guarantee that institutions are going to just go to Hedera, because obviously there can be other factors, but it's a big one. It's a huge one, right? And this is the type of thing that would, for an institution, be what they would want. They would want that reassurance. So it's definitely a positive thing. It's definitely something that could make a huge difference. So yeah, I'm not going to turn around and say that this guarantees institutions will pick Hedera, but it definitely gives me a lot of confidence. If we're just speaking logically, right? Hedera has something that institutions will want and a lot of other public blockchains can't provide. Yes. And even if we talk about, maybe the fact that it's a public chain, they don't like that. Well, you've got the hashgraph. They could go on the private chain. So that's another thing there, right? So just one last thing I'll finish on here. It says Aberdeen, Lloyds and Archax didn't run a proof of concept. They ran a live trade under FCA oversight on a workflow where ordering integrity is a compliance requirement. That's the difference between infrastructure that has been evaluated and infrastructure that has been trusted. There you go. So look at those companies, huge institutions, and the FCA was looking over it. So if you don't know, the FCA is the Financial Conduct Authority. So basically, they're the ones who oversee in the UK, basically compliance and things like that. They regulate the banks and that kind of thing. This is what we're talking about, guys, if you want the mass adoption. So that is very, very promising to see. Very promising indeed. So look, I just thought I'd show you this because, as you can tell, it's a huge positive. And to me, it does give me a lot of confidence, I've got to say. So, thought I'd share this with you guys. Once again, another reason to have trust in Hedera long term. That's definitely a positive indicator. Again, not a guarantee, but, let's be realistic and logical. It's definitely a huge, huge positive. So that could bring a lot of institutional adoption. I'll leave it there. Okay, guys, if you did like this, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe so you can be updated for future HBAR content. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be alerted on when I do drop a new video. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you all on the next one.